Hello and welcome to this gentle somatic yoga practice with me, Sophie Ray. Today's practice is an invitation to find a harmonious balance between taking care of your needs and not pushing past the point of not pushing into pain, not forcing yourself to do something that your body is actively resisting, and stepping out of your comfort zone. So finding that harmonious balance between the two. Knowing your limits, listening to your needs, or maybe not even knowing your limits right now if you're new to the practice, but really starting to listen and pay attention to how your body is responding throughout the practice, through the movements, the way that your breath is responding, the kind of thoughts that you're having, and how your nervous system is responding, how your physiology is responding. So have an open mind, stay curious, and grab your props. So I've got a yoga mat, I've got a couple of blankets that I'm just sitting up on at the moment, and of course grab a chair, maybe some blocks. Always best to have things around you, and then if you use them, they're there. So we are going to start in a comfortable seat of choice. So you might want to sit up on a blanket or some pillows or some blocks to lift your hips a little bit higher than the knees. So if your knees are lifted and you're rolling back, then lifting your bum up a little higher is a lot more comfortable and can help you to find a bit more length in the spine, helps your pelvis to tilt forward slightly. Equally, you might want to sit on the chair, you might want to have the feet to the floor, knees bent, wherever you are, making sure that it feels sustainable. And we're going to start to either close our eyes or just lower the gaze and start to bring some movement into your spine, swaying from side to side, starting to shift the shoulders from one side to the other. And as you do this, you might take a few deep sighing breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Starting to soften your forehead, skin around the eyes, your jaw, allowing your shoulders to become heavy, and starting to allow your pelvis to be heavy. So as you're shifting from side to side, let's start from the ground and work our way up. So bringing your awareness to the parts of your body that are touching the surface. Might not be the ground, it might be a chair. You might have your feet flat to the floor. So if you're sat on the chair, shifting from side to side, you can even be pressing your feet down and your sit bones. And of course, if you're sitting on the floor and legs across, there are other parts of our body that touch the floor, not just the sit bones. But really starting to sense the support underneath you. Can you invite your pelvis to be a little bit heavier? Maybe softening around the hips. Settling into an easy breath that is starting to guide the movements. We're moving up into the pelvis, up into the spine, taking your shoulders over to the right hand side. Start to lean forward, take the chest over to the left hand side, and then lean back, rounding into the upper back and taking it over To the right hand side, take it forward, scoop it all the way around. Keep it going, and you might inhale to come forward and exhale to lean back, quite similar to cat-cow, but we are scooping the chest round, and you might notice these sensations coming from your rib cage. You can choose how wide you go, but coming back to knowing your limits. Do you feel like you're really forcing the movement? Do you need to ease off? So already starting to pay attention to how these movements are feeling as you tune in today, as you start to arrive. Let's pause wherever we are, take it in the opposite direction. You might be taking it a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So maybe you are rolling around. You can always use your hands to the ground, but maybe you roll down and you lift one bum cheek off the floor. And you just explore how that feels to kind of lean to one side. It might feel a little unstable, so noticing where that instability is. Maybe you then use a hand to support you. And remembering that we can be playful in our movement practice. Okay, coming all the way back to center. If you've had your legs crossed, let's bring them out in front. Even if you're on the chair, you can bring your legs out in front, give them a shake, wiggle the toes, roll the ankles, just get a little bit of life in the legs. Sometimes sitting cross-legged isn't always comfortable for long periods of time, so we build up to it, we get used to it. Whenever you need to stretch the legs out, you can. So if you are sat on the floor with your legs crossed, cross your legs the opposite way to how you had them before. Might feel a little bit weird and you might not know which way you go, but once you're there, it might feel a little bit strange. Of course, if you're on the chair, coming back to your normal position, feet to the ground. Okay, let's reach our arms up. Take a breath in. Exhale, float the arms all the way back down, bringing a bend into the elbows, fingertips tapping either to the floor or the edge of the chair. Inhaling to reach up. Maybe look up. Exhale as you take the arms down, chin towards chest. Bit of movement in the neck as well. Let's keep this going. And as we are bringing this movement in, ask yourself, how am I today? How am I as I arrive for this practice? Do you feel quite engaged, relaxed, ready? Do you feel a little bit nervous, apprehensive? Do you feel sluggish, tired? Noticing with compassion how you are. We don't need to judge ourselves, but use it as really important and useful feedback. How am I? What do I need to do to support myself? Not just through this practice, but for the rest of the day. If you are feeling tired, maybe you do need to take it a little bit slower. Or maybe it'll help to bring a little bit more energy and a boost to your system. Always listening to the feedback from your body. I'm going to take a few more. Making this your last one, reaching the arms up. And then very slowly, eyes open or closed, very, very slowly allow your arms to come down, and we'll rest the hands on the knees or thighs, palms facing up, resting the backs of the hands to the legs. Find a little lift through the crown of the head and breathe. Maybe breathing in through the nose, send it down towards your belly button. Lengthen out the exhale, and you might sense your belly button gently drawing back towards the spine. So we've got that big deep inhale, diaphragm moving down, belly expanding outwards. Long breath out, belly drawing in as the diaphragm moves up. As you settle into this breath and allow your pelvis to feel heavy, but keep that little lift through the crown of the head, through the heart space. Relax the shoulders. Okay, noticing how you are. Once you know how you are, what do you need to do to take care of yourself throughout this practice? Maybe there are some niggles. Maybe you are feeling tired today. Maybe you're not very well. Remembering that everything is a suggestion and an invitation in this practice to just try to see how it lands with you. Some things will feel pleasant, some things won't. And some things will feel safe, and some things will feel unsafe. So we might step outside our comfort zone and it might feel uncomfortable, but we are safe. And then on the other hand, we might step outside our comfort zone and things feel uncomfortable and unsafe. So giving yourself permission to do what feels right for you, to do what you need to do to support yourself. If you would like to set an intention for your practice here, you can do that now. And it could be something based around the intention that I offered. I aim to find harmony in my practice, or I take care of my needs. I'm exploring my limits. It could be that I am present. It doesn't have to be related. Repeating any intentions to yourself 3 times. And I invite you to observe any areas in your body that feel harmonious. What does harmony feel like in your body? Just noticing with curiosity what comes up. And there might be this kind of immediate response of nothing feels harmonious. Or it might be the opposite. It's quite easy to find a place of harmony. So noticing where you are on that scale. It's not one or the other. There's a big scale, long scale there. Is there one area? One small area. It Could be the support of the floor underneath you. It could be a softening between the eyebrows. It could be your hands feeling heavy and resting on your legs. Taking a moment here to breathe into that harmony and extending some real kindness to yourself if you are struggling with that today. Maybe a hand to the heart and some gentle circles. So with the backs of the hands resting on the knees or thighs. Now remember, if you need to stretch the legs out at any point, please do, and you can always do this practice in a different position. And you can always sit with your back against the wall if you're feeling uncomfortable. We're going to take a breath in to open and spread the fingers wide from the palms to the fingertips. And then exhale to curl up into fists. A little squeeze. Inhale to open. Exhale to close. Inhale to open, spreading wide from palms to fingertips. Exhale to close. Let's take 2 more. Breathing down towards the belly button. After that last one, spreading the fingers out wide but keeping it quite relaxed. We're going to lift the arms up, elbows a little bit lower than the shoulders, and relax into the shoulders. Take a breath in, reach up, extend the arms, spread the fingers. Exhale, make a fist, bring the elbows down towards the waist. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, make a fist, elbows to waist. Inhale to reach. Exhale, bring the elbows down. Inhale to lift. Exhale, elbows to waist, make a fist. Let's keep it going. So we're going at this slow, steady pace. And this is a slower version of Bhastrika or bellows breath. And this is a really energizing pranayama practice when you take it a little bit faster. More of a pumping action, really good for energizing your body, moving prana around and releasing stagnation, warming up your body, building a little bit of heat. They're quite useful during winter. So you have the option of staying really slow. If you get dizzy or lightheaded at any point, then please do stop. Any breathing difficulties or heart conditions, take it nice and slow. And if you are watching this and you happen to be pregnant, again, take it at the slow pace. You can take it fast. So we breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. In and out through the nose, in, out, in, out. And as we are doing this, we're breathing in, belly draws out. As we breathe out, belly draws in. So there's this pumping action from here, and you can explore taking it a little bit faster if you want to, just to see how it feels, but again, knowing your limits. taking 5 more. And everybody releasing the arms down, resting your hands wherever they want to land, taking a moment to pause and notice how that felt. Absorbing any sensations, any feelings, how that landed in your body. Do you feel energized? Do you feel warm? And if you didn't go faster, still noticing those things. You're still moving, pumping, just at that slower pace. Let's take 5 more breaths. Start to bring a little bit of movement into your head and neck, maybe turning the head from side to side or rolling the head round. We can take a few shoulder rolls here as well as we start to make our way to a tabletop position. Coming to all fours, you might have padding underneath the knees if you're on the floor, or that's the standing version with the chair in front of you, hands on the chair, knees bent, find length through the spine, through the back of the neck. And once we are in this tabletop position, we can start to move through our cat-cow, moving the spine forwards and backwards, starting to dip the belly, lift the sit bones, heart draws through. You might even lift the chin, and tucking the tailbone under, pressing the ground away, broaden into the upper back, let the head hang heavy. Keeping it going, maybe starting to sync breath and movement, inhaling through to cow and exhaling through to cat. Eyes can be open or closed here. If you do tend to get distracted, maybe you close your eyes if that's comfortable, or try and find something within to keep you focused. It could be your fingertips pressing down into the floor, it could be the movement of the spine forwards and backwards. It could be coming back to any intentions. Back through to center, and from here you can bring any movements in to your spine that might feel good here. So maybe a side to side movement. You could move your body around in circles. Get a bit of movement into the wrists as well, so warming up through the wrists. And if you are on the chair, you can do the same thing, swaying from side to side, or not far away from standing, so you can always come to stand and bring some movement in here if being in this position is causing any aggro in the low back. Noticing what your energy levels are like today. You might want to take a downward facing dog at this point, tucking the toes under, spreading the fingers, lift the hips to the sky, find that upside down V shape, or if you're on the chair, walking the feet back, sink a little into the hips, maybe bringing the head between the upper arms, and pedaling out the legs if you are on the ground. Downward dog is, or can be, an energizing movement to take. But again, knowing your limits. sometimes we can overdo it. From here, we are going to make our way to standing. So you can either walk your feet forward from downward dog, or you can come from a tabletop using your blocks, maybe on the highest point. Step 1 foot forward, tuck the back toes under, lift the knee. Maybe it's one big step, maybe it's a couple of hops to get you to the top of your mat. And we'll all meet in our forward fold, taking the feet a little bit wider than the hips, letting the knees bend, hinge from the hips and fold. Let your upper back hang heavy, let your head hang heavy. If you need a bit of support and you have got a chair, you can always rest your forearms down. And how would that feel to then let your head hang heavy? Press down to your heels. Start to roll up through your spine. And as you come up, maybe you sweep the arms overhead or take a few shoulder rolls. Or you can do both. If you've got blankets or anything on your mat, move them to one side. Keep them nearby, but just make sure that they're not in the way. Blocks or a chair in front of you, coming to stand towards the top of the mat. Let's shift a little from foot to foot, just bringing in some movement here as we arrive to the top of the mat. You could swing your arms as well. Sensing the floor beneath you. And scanning your awareness up through your legs. So as you're shifting from foot to foot, noticing what those sensations are, those muscles that are engaging. And let's come to find a central point where we feel like we are balanced equally between right and left. We might not be completely, and that's okay, but where you feel like you are central. Root down through the feet. Really press your feet firmly into the floor. Feel that activation, really active through the feet. You might notice that your toes start to grip into the mat. And I want you to take it to that point of maybe past comfortable, might be uncomfortable to really grip the toes. There's a tension there in the legs, up through the legs. Maybe you notice your thighs engaging, your glutes engaging. Find a little lift of the pelvic floor, lift a little taller, lift up through the crown of the head. Really stand tall. Notice what happens to your breath as you stand tall, as you turn the palms to face forward and reach through the fingers. Can you breathe here with ease? Or does it feel stifled? Stand as tall as you can. Really press the feet into the ground, lift a little higher. Breathe as best you can. Maybe this is easy for you to breathe here. It's not a trick question. We are just observing what happens when we fully engage here. And then taking it back a notch. Still standing tall, but there's a softness in the knees. Relax the shoulders. Breathe down to the belly. Soften the toes. But still active through the feet. Ball of big toe, little toe and heel. Eyes open or closed as you breathe. you next exhale, let's make it as soft and as passive as we can. Really softening into the feet, the knees. You might start to slouch a little bit. Maybe you stand to one side, just on one leg. Really kind of lethargic through your body. And exaggerating this feeling of lethargy. Actively press through the feet, stand tall, really active here, as tall as you can, as active as you can, just like we did before. Scrunch up the toes, maybe you're drawing the stomach in, maybe you're holding your breath, and then moving back into that really passive, soft, almost lethargic, not so active. Let's do that one more time. As you come into that most active and tallest mountain pose, Tadasana, as you can, making sure that you are breathing. And then coming into that soft, lethargic, let's find somewhere in between. Noticing how that feels to find your in between, and remembering that we are all different. So it will look different, feel different, and yeah, we won't know how each other experiences it, which is quite fun. Pressing down through your feet. Stay connected to your feet and the ground as you slowly bring your arms up and cactus the arms. We're going to lift the elbows almost as high as the shoulders, spread the fingers, and then maybe drawing the elbows back a little bit. Imagine you're squeezing a pencil between the shoulder blades. Can you breathe easily here? Start to sweep the arms forward, fingertips touch round a little into the upper back. You might bow the head slightly. Hold it here and breathe. Root through the feet, sweep the fingers to the sky. Fingertips or palms can stay together, or you might take your hands a little bit wider just to accommodate neck, shoulders. Breathing as you go. Pausing at each point, just to notice. Start to bend your knees, hinge from the hips, allow the arms to come down as you fold. Full forward fold. Press into the heels, bring the hands to the thighs, lift and lengthen halfway. Think tabletop position. Draw the shoulders back, broaden across the chest. Option here to reach the arms behind you. Again, imagine there's that pencil between the shoulder blades. So a little bend in the knees, strong in the legs, strong in the glutes, strong in the feet. And then noticing if there are any areas that you need to soften a little bit. Bring the weight into your heels, sink your bum down. Lift the chest, bring hands to heart. Chair pose, Utkatasana. Press into the feet, come to stand. Reach the arms up and then float your arms all the way down. Maybe starting to sync breath and movement. Taking a breath in to lift up and cactus the arms. Exhale, reach the arms forward, fingertips touch. Inhaling to sweep the arms up. Exhaling as you fold, remembering to breathe as you need. This is just a suggestion. On your inhale, lift and lengthen halfway, hands to thighs or arms back behind you, and exhale to pause here. Bring the weight into the heels. On your inhale, sit back in your chair, lift the chest, hands to heart. Keeping the weight into the heels. You might notice a little hug of the low belly. You can always reach the arms out or fingers to the sky. Press through the feet. Inhale to stand, arms up. Exhale back into mountain. Take a breath in, cactus the arms. Exhale, sweep the arms forward, fingertips touch. Inhale, fingers to the sky. Exhale as you fold. Taking a breath in to lift and lengthen halfway, choosing your arm options. Exhale to hold it here. Inhale, sit back in your chair, bring hands to heart. Remember, lift the chest, weight is in the heels. We're going to shift over onto the right foot, lightness in the left foot, and you might choose to lift the heel or hover the foot and bring the weight fully onto the right foot. And then shifting over onto the left foot, lightness through the right foot and the right leg, and maybe exploring lifting the heel, maybe exploring hovering the foot. Shift it over to the right foot. Press down through that right foot, start to lift the left heel, start to stand. Maybe you stay on the toes of the left foot. Maybe you lift the knee and come to a balance. You can do whatever you want with your arms for support. Remember, if you've got a chair, you can always have the chair to one side so that you can hold on to the back. And if you are using any support underneath the left foot, having it there lightly. So we know it's there, but we're still using the strength of that right leg and the core to hold us up, even if the toes are on the ground. Soft bend in that right knee. Slowly step that left foot back. You can tap it back, explore how you can get that foot there, and then bringing it back. Maybe it's a few taps as you come back into the balance. Maybe it's one swoop, stepping it forwards and backwards into a lunge. So we can play around here. And if you've got a chair in front of you, you can step the foot back and bring the hands down to a chair. Or if you've got blocks, you can take it a little bit further, stepping that left foot back and then bringing the hands down to blocks. So adding on at this point if you want to. We're going to step that left foot back, coming into a lunge. Now, option to stay up in this lunge, hands to heart, or hands coming down to chair, or hands coming down to blocks, runner's lunge. Keeping the left hand down to blocks or chair, sweeping the right fingers to the sky. If you are in the high lunge version, hands to heart center, thumbs to the sternum. Start to draw that right shoulder back. Take it slow. See how you go here. This one can get a little bit wobbly. And if this feels too much, come to the top of the mat. Stay standing on the right leg. Lift up onto the left toes and then draw the shoulder back. So we're still coming into the twist, we've just taken out the lunge. And you might even look over the shoulder. So you've got those three options to come into a twist. wherever you are. A few more breaths. Staying connected to the parts of your body that touch the floor, that touch your props. Sensing where might you be pushing and forcing, where can you ease off? Is there harmony in what you're doing? So, starting to come out. If you are in the twist with the hand down on the floor or block or chair, and start to bring that top hand down. Coming back up through centre, all meeting in that high lunge unless you are already at the top of the mat, and then stepping it forward. Both feet together and then marching it out. Now here, bring in some movement into the hips, so circling round. You can hold on to something as you take some hip circles, or even swing the leg forwards and backwards. Just easing out from that before we do the other side. Okay, come back to centre. Before we go to the other side, let's pause and notice, how did that feel? Eyes open or closed. Remembering what I said at the start about it might be uncomfortable, but it felt safe. Stepping outside of your comfort zone, but it was safe enough. Or maybe there was something there that was really uncomfortable and felt really unsafe. So noticing what was coming up, and bring kindness and compassion to yourself. Not everything is going to feel good or right or be possible or accessible, and that's okay. It's choosing your own. DIY it. Okay, let's go over to the other side. So rooting down through both feet. Coming into mountain pose, Tadasana. Remembering one breath, one movement, or flowing to your own natural breath if that feels better today. I'll cue the one breath, one movement. On your next inhale, cactus the arms. Exhale, sweep the arms forward, fingertips touch. Taking a breath in, fingers to the sky. Exhale as you fold. Full forward fold, but remember you can always stay halfway if that feels more comfortable. Take a breath in, lift and lengthen halfway, hands to thighs or arms back behind you, and exhale to pause, ground through the heels. Inhale, sit back in your chair, hands to heart. Making any adjustments once you're here so that you do feel stable. Shifting over onto the left foot, maybe lifting the right heel, maybe there is just a lightness in that leg. Strength in the left leg, noticing if this feels challenging. And remembering that you have got this, you can do this. Starting to lift the heel, maybe hover the foot, coming to stand as you lift the knee or stay on the toes. Stand tall, root down through that left foot, lift up through the crown of the head. Notice if you go too far into that, and come back a little. Exploring your balance on this side as we bring a little bend into the left knee and we start to step that right foot back. So that same exploration that we did on the first side, maybe you are lifting and stepping it back in one go. Maybe you are tapping the foot forward and tapping it back into a lunge. Maybe that feels too much today. Now sometimes, you know, the standing ones can be tricky, so there's always the option to come down to a chair to try it on both sides. So I'm just going to show you what it would look like. If you're in that lunge, sit to one side, lift the leg, press down through that right foot as you lift the left leg, and then send it back. Bring it forward and send it back. So we can always explore from the chair, but without just swinging the leg forwards and backwards. Really pay attention. Imagine that the chair isn't there, and you're bringing the leg forward and taking it back. Or of course you can hold on to the wall. Okay, so you might be exploring bringing the hands down to the chair or to the blocks and then coming back up, or do it a few more times. Maybe there's a wobble. Stepping that right foot back, coming into your lunge, feet on two lines. Find that central point for head, heart, pelvis. Notice if you're leaning forward or leaning back or to one side. Just like in mountain, where is that central point? Thumbs to sternum. Maybe you're coming into that twist, drawing the left shoulder back. Or maybe your right hand is down on the chair or a block and we're sweeping the left fingers to the sky. That last option, if you don't want to be in a lunge, is to come to stand on the left foot, lift the right toes or even lift the knee and find a balance, and then coming into the twist. Couple more breaths. Start to think about coming out of whichever shape you are in. If you're in the twisted low lunge version, start to bring that top hand down, root down through both feet, roll it up through center, coming into high lunge, and then stepping that back foot to meet the front foot and bringing some movement in. Pausing here, before we make our way down to the ground, let's check in. Let's start to reach our fingers to the sky. Lengthen through one side of your waist and then the other. We'll take a few side stretches here. Back through to center, feet down and fold. Take it slow. You might want to end your practice on a chair, so if that's the case, press into the heels and slowly roll back up and then come to sit on the chair. If you want to end it lying down, hands down to floor or blocks, and either walking the feet back to downward dog, blocks flat to the ground, or stepping it back to a tabletop. And eventually we will all meet in the tabletop, come to sit to one side and swing the legs round. Grab what you need for final relaxation. We are not far off. If you're coming to lie down, make your way there and bend your knees. Slide the heels a little closer to your bum. And we'll gently flatten the low back down. Little hug of the low belly, pelvic tilts. Then start to arch into the low back, tilt the pelvis forward. So you're pressing your tailbone down into the floor. And then gently flatten the low back down as you exhale. And inhale, breathe into the belly as you tilt the pelvis forward. Settle into that rhythm, slow and steady, no force. If you're on the chair, similar thing here, but we won't be pressing the back into anything. We are finding just a little lengthening in the low back, and then tilting the pelvis forward, breathing into the belly, arching into the low back. Exhale to flatten and round, pressing the tailbone down into the chair. Inhaling as you tilt forward, exhaling as you rock back. Taking around 5 more. Maybe starting to close your eyes or soften your gaze. Allowing your head to feel heavy into the floor if you're lying down. Start to bring your pelvis back to neutral. If you're lying down, float the knees down to the right hand side and roll the head to the left, and you can always take your arms out wide or cactus the arms. If you're on the chair, we'll reach the arms up, fingers to the sky, and then taking your twist to the left, floating your arms down to the left as you turn to look over the left shoulder. But allow your pelvis to feel heavy. Notice if this right hip is starting to tense, or the right foot. Allow the legs to relax in this twist. Keep a little lift through the heart space. Breathe into the belly. 3 deep sighing breaths. 3 grounding breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth to soften and release. Deep breath in, long breath out. 1 more. Start to make your way back to center. If you're on the chair, reach your fingers to the sky, come through center, and then exhale, take it over to the other side, settling in on the floor, knees to the left, head rolls to the right. And adjusting the top leg in any way that you need to really allow it to feel supported by the bottom leg or by the floor. Three breaths. Let's start to make our way back to center and settling into a final position where you can let your body rest. Might be constructive rest, Knees bent, take the feet a little bit wider, let the knees knock in. If you're lying down, it might be traditional Shavasana, legs and arms completely extended. You might want to throw a blanket over you for a bit of extra warmth. Inviting your body to feel heavy here. If there are any areas that you're gripping or holding on to, maybe giving them a little shake out, shake the legs, jelly roll the legs, the hips. You're sat on the chair, sitting back into the support of the chair. And finding one point of focus for these last few moments. One thing that you can keep coming back to hold your attention, especially if your mind feels quite busy. You can observe the breath. You can notice the parts of your body that touch the floor. You can allow areas to soften on the exhale, starting from the toes and working your way up. Or you might observe how you feel without getting swept away into any judgments or stories. Getting an honest overview of how you are. If you set an intention at the start, and repeating that to yourself now 3 times, noticing if it was an intention that you honoured throughout the practice. Maybe you didn't set one at the start and something has come up now. What do you need for the rest of the day? How can you support yourself? And before you bring a little bit of movement in, maybe reflecting on whether you stepped outside of your comfort zone today. And maybe you give yourself a pat on the back, a hug, congratulate yourself in some way, especially if it felt challenging. And congratulating yourself if you did honour your needs today. No right or wrong here. Let's start to bring a little bit of movement back in. If you want to stay lying down or stay seated, you're more than welcome to, or you can make your way to a comfortable seat, rolling over onto one side, using your hands to push you up. Arriving back in that position that you might have started in, that sitting up position, Sukhasana maybe, if you have the legs crossed. Find a little lift through the heart space, through the crown of the head. If you wish to join me, bringing your hands together into prayer at your heart space, or you can place your hands over your heart, and we'll take a breath in together and let it out as you bow your head. Bowing down to anybody that might have joined you in this practice today, either in your household or just anyone else out there. Bow down to yourself. Thank yourself. Thank your body, your breath, your mind, your spirit, even when it feels difficult. And I bow down to you. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to guide you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye.